What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, all hail Pablo Rondriguez, the much talked about potential guy to run for leadership of the Liberal Party has apparently decided to do just that. I guess officially the announcement's tomorrow. Does this change anything? Is he now? I'm hearing that he is now the favorite in this race. Do you agree with that?
Oh, the caucus, the Liberal caucus today was hopping from one foot to the other with absolute joy, clapping in anticipation of having a real sort of like, a class candidate coming in, bringing some class to the whole thing. I hope tomorrow during his press conference that someone asks him why he's not giving up his day job. He's resigning from cabinet, but he's staying on as a Liberal MP. I'd be interested in knowing even now how he intends to juggle those two tasks. When one would think you might be a little bit distracted by doing your homework on being, the leader of the Quebec Liberal Party. But I'm sure he'll answer all of our questions. The big issue, I think, though, is, I don't know, and I mean this with no disrespect whatsoever to Mr. Rodriguez. He's a very accomplished politician. 21 years an MP, Montreal riding of Montreal, and he's Trudeau's Quebec lieutenant. Of course, people are going to see the optics, the by-election disaster on Monday, and maybe, if you want to be really cynical, Aaron, you'll say he's doing his boss a favor by not resigning as an MP, because that means they would have to call a by-election, which they'd probably lose. But anyway, no. So he's going to stay in the caucus. But my fundamental question is, and as I say, I pose it with all respect to the accomplishments and abilities of Mr. Rodriguez. Are Quebecers ready to have a premier named Pablo Rodriguez? I'm not entirely sure they are.
Oh, well, that's an interesting take because, he is fluently bilingual, right?
Oh, big deal. A lot of Anglos are fluently bilingual, too. It doesn't help them out. You have a lot of fluently bilingual Anglos who, as far as I'm concerned, people in the business community who would be excellent premiers of Quebec, and they don't have a hope in hell of being premier of Quebec. Listen, we'll see. As I say, and I'm nothing on Mr. Rodriguez. I'm just saying, if you look at the record, if you look at the tail of the tape, it's been a very, very long time since a Quebec premier had a name that might be identified as being English, and it's never been anything other than French. So I'm just wondering. We'll see how the polling goes. It's one thing for the Liberals, and for sure he's a campaigner. He is old in war, as they say. He has tremendous experience in politics, and the people in Honoré-Mercier love him. But how is he going to play? In Rivière-du-Loup, how is he going to play in the Saguenay? We'll wait and see. He's the Quebec lieutenant. He's been knocking heads on a regular basis with the CAQ government, which will give him some cred with the provincial Liberals. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this contest plays out.
I appreciate you saying that it has nothing to do with him, and you're right. But, this is sometimes a subject we're afraid to broach here, right? The idea that here's a guy, his last name is Rodriguez, and you're bringing up something that I think is fair to bring up. When you say are Quebecers ready to vote for a guy with that as a last name, you might as well be called Patrick Jones. Would that have made a difference, right?
Exactly. And the fact is, and it wasn't towards the end of her stay as being Liberal leader of the provincial Liberals that we talked about Dominique Anglade,
right.
with a hard sell to have a woman of color. Despite the fact she's a Francophone, despite the fact she's a Quebecer, born and bred, but she's a woman of color, was that the issue that really sort of wouldn't close the deal with Quebecers? I'm very sorry, and as I say, Madame Anglade is an extremely accomplished businesswoman. Yeah. She certainly wasn't doing this for the money. She needed this like a hole in the head, and she stuck to it very gallantly. But even then, her own, the party, the sniping from within the party was ridiculous. Are we going to see the same kind of division within the party now with the advent of Mr. Rodriguez's candidacy? I don't know, but we'll see. We'll have to see what the numbers say. We'll have to see what the polling numbers say. But it's going to be very, very intriguing. And you know what? I hope. I'm absolutely prepared to be proved wrong. I'm absolutely prepared to be shown that, Quebec in 2024 is not the same Quebec that even existed in 2004. We'll see. But I think it would be a huge breath of fresh air for this province's political complexion for
happen,
Mr. Rodriguez to become the Premier of Quebec. We'll have to see.
Let me move on to what is happening today in federal politics. We found out that there will be a no-confidence motion. It'll be brought next week, a surprise, surprise, by Pierre Poilievre. We also found out, didn't waste any time from the Bloc to let us know that, you know what, when it comes up, they won't support it. So I'm wondering here, who looks like the geniuses strategically, the Liberals or the Conservatives, for having brought this up? First of all, the Liberals for allowing this to happen as early as it is, perhaps knowing that it wouldn't get any farther?
Well, clearly when Trudeau said that he was going to turn over next Wednesday to the opposition for them to table their motion, you knew he was throwing down. You knew that he was playing chicken with Poilievre. I think, though, and it's funny you phrase your question that way, Aaron, because I'm getting the impression that today Yves François Blanchet of the Bloc Québécois has taken a leaf from the book of PQ leader Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, who discovered that you do very well in voter popularity when you appear to be like less of a jerk than anybody else you're dealing with, which is exactly how he appears today. Nobody's looking good on this. This playing chicken of politics, this idea that we're going to be perpetually now walking through a minefield, we're going to call an election. And because God knows, Aaron, there's nothing else for our federal representatives to do. There's nothing else facing the country right now other than, do we have an early election? Will Pierre Poilievre be able to come up with a new alliterative catchphrase to insult his opponents? That seems to be where we are on the level of political debate in this country at the federal level. And honestly, for Mr. Blanchet to turn around, you know what? And say it out loud. I'm going to shake down this government as much as I can. And be careful here. When he says he wants to increase old age pensions, it's for 100,000 Quebecers, but you know what? It's also for a million Canadians. And I can see a lot of those Canadians getting right behind that idea of getting more money in their pension. So he's playing it smart. My understanding is this is like an astronomical event that we won't be able to have another attempt to bring down the government on a vote of confidence until I think December. I think that's how it works. But all that said, you know what, guys, get a life. Stop playing these games because yes, I know that your unpopularity ratings, it's like a race to the bottom. But the fact is, the country still has work to do. We're not out of the woods yet. And, even if, he started it, well, why don't you guys finish it, get back to work, and try to restore some slight shred of confidence in our political process at the federal level.
Jim, and I want to run out of time. I want you to weigh in on the Jagmeet Singh confrontation yesterday with that line.
It was great.
Pardon me?
It was great. What a great video. And any guy who's ever been in a fight knows. I mean, here's Jagmeet Singh, got beat up when he was a kid, takes up martial arts, right? And when a guy looks ripped in a three-piece suit, which he does, you know he's ripped. This is a guy you don't want to mess with. And at one point, you see him going up to this clown, okay? And the guy knows how to fight. And if you know how to fight, you don't lead with your face. He's leading with his face because why? He's looking at this guy, and as he's saying, "Say it to my face," what his eyes are saying is, "Give me an excuse. Just lift your hand once." And the guy is realizing as he literally deflates in that he deflates. He gets smaller before he runs away. He realizes this guy wouldn't think twice about ripping off my head. And I think, if nothing else, what an absolutely perfect message to send to that or any other bully in this country who's being a bully for any reason whatsoever.
Jim, when I asked this question earlier in the show, some people suggested perhaps as someone who, has the ambition to become prime minister, maybe that's not really prime ministerial the way he dealt with that today or yesterday.
Oh, really? Well, you know what? Everyone, we get all these butch we have to roll up our sleeves and do some work. I like to think that the head of the NDP was able to handle himself against two clowns, even though those two so-called parliamentary security officers, maybe they should go back to the mall cop job they had, because the last thing they seem to want to do is get involved in that. But I'll tell you straight up, I thought it was great, and good for Mr. Singh for doing it, and I hope the message goes out, at least in his case, because I've seen too many of these clowns go after female politicians and get away with it.
James MENNIE at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Matt.